Okay, good morning. We're going to continue where we left off. Basar B'chalav, Tzadi Vav. Okay, we finished Seif Bet. We're going to start Gimel. Just wanted to quick clarify, in case it wasn't clear. Whenever you have a knife cutting through a davar charif, how far does it oser prohibit the food? How far does the blia go from the knife through the food that you cut through? So it's a three-way machloket rishonim. The Rosh says only kedei klipa, not more. And he says, how could it be more than if you put a piece of meat against a piece of cheese that's all dry, that's only kedei klipa? It can't be that charif is going to go further. So that's the Rosh. Probably the most popular opinion among the Rishonim is the Ravid and others. And that's the psak of the Shulchan Aruch, that it's kedei natila. That's how far it goes. And that is also the psak of the Ramah and the B'diavad once it gets mixed in other mixtures. And the Rashba Naran says it's kulo, it spreads all the way throughout the entire, let's say, radish or whatever it is. And that's the Ramah L'chatchila. So if that helps explain the opinion by Madanei Shulchan, who says by pickles, for example, which are questionably a davar charif. So most of us assume it's a davar charif, but it's very questionable. Could be it's only radishes. It could be has to be so salty that you can't eat it. And so therefore he says kedei klipa is sufficient. Okay, that's that. And I don't know if we're going to find a better place here. We might get to it in Tarovis, but I'll just point it out. Kashrin a knife. So if it was used with something hot, you want to kosher it, all you have to do is clean it, soap, sponge, no shamnunis alav, and then do hagala. But ni'itza won't help you because it was hot. Good question. Plastic handle, I believe so. Kebolo kachpoto. We'll leave that as not 100%, I'm not sure what others say, but that would make sense. Spicy. If it only became isser through cold and charif, so then that's the case where you have to make sure it's clean, and then ne'itza karka works, or you can also do hagala. Either one will work, because there's no hot. And if it was only done with cold and not spicy, and it doesn't matter if it's hard or a liquid, if it's cold and not spicy, all you have to do is clean it. And if it was with something hard, so then perhaps it does need to be done. I believe that's a question mark. If it was always something hard, perhaps it needs to be with ni'itza or hagala, perhaps. But okay, let's read to Gimel. Tavlin shenidochu b'meducha. So now we're talking about tavlin, spices that are very spicy, right? Like pepper or whatever like, and you're pulverizing them in a mortar. So in that case, the meducha shel basar, if let's say the mortar is used for pulverizing or heating meat, and it's a ben yomo, then it's asr la'ochlo b'chalav. The spice that you're now pulverizing, it's a ben yomo, becomes aser. And Haga, we know, just follows his own opinion, as we saw. V'yesh omrim afilo eno ben yomo. Since it's a davar charif, even if it's eno ben yomo, it has the power to make a pegam into shvach flavor. Tavlin is something that is a davar charif, definitely a davar charif, or very, very. I think we included very, very salty.
Not everything that we call tavlin.
Right, not everything that we call tavlin hayom. Again, it's going to be different opinions. It's not so straightforward. So that's enough for us. And the Shach just points out the obvious. Just because it's a mortar, whatever, it's used for pulverizing, let's say, I don't know, meat with spices and whatever it is, then, or basar, just to put something in there, put a piece of milk chocolate That's for sure not a problem. Maybe lechatchila it is, but not, doesn't, there's no bliyas going on. It's only if you're going to be crushing it with a davar charif.
It's not like the kli is hot.
Right, the kli is it's a cold kli, like anything. Okay, there's nothing magical about it. That's all, he's just pointing out the obvious. Okay, let's go to Dalit. May limonesh. I don't know, some kind of lemonade, lemon juice. Shemevi'im hagoyim, that you get it from the goyim. The goyim are selling you in their open market. What do they call them? Anyways, these markets, you go by, they have fresh fruit or this or that, whatever, any market. I'm thinking of farmer's market, I don't know where you live. Shemevi'im hagoyim, and so you get them from the goyim. V'chen chatichot dag maliach, shemevi'im hagoyim chaviot. Or you also have, they sell you fish, and it's cut up already, and it's very salty. We're talking about, I don't know, herring or whatever it is, mutarim. So the Shulchan Aruch says no problem. You're allowed to eat it, right? There's no ingredients that's treif, and it's not a problem. We assume that all of the anything that was used was. We're assuming that they have special knives for them, or even if they're not special knives and they're treif knives, well, after they're chopping a whole bunch, hundreds of pieces. So maybe the first few pieces are going to get the shamnunit and be aser, lechatchila, but as you go on, they're all going to be, most of them are going to be kosher, even without removing kadei klipa and batel berov. There might be a few that you're supposed to remove part of it, but since you have a whole bucket of it, therefore they're all kosher, and you don't have to do anything. Haga, he's going to explain. I think I should have just waited. They bring a whole bunch together. Even though there was a treif knife, they become batal with the pieces afterwards. That don't become aser. So only the first ones theoretically become aser, but the rest are al mutar. Even the Ramah, who says, even Be'ena ben Yomo, we say it's the whole piece becomes aser. But then you're going to be having piece versus piece, and most of the pieces are kosher. So this is it. Ochlim b'ktzat mekamot hakruv shekorin, I don't know, compost? It's compost? I don't know. Afop gav de paros v'chatuch. So you have this food, and it's cut up, it's shredded or cut, whatever it is. V'chein mekamot shemachmirim bazeh, and there are places that are machmir. In other words, the latter ones are more than the first ones, so it's batal berov. There should be no issues of shamnunit, so therefore it's okay. Ve'ein l'shanot haminhag, but some are machmir because you don't know and you don't want to get the piece that has, even though it's batal berov, that's maybe more of a din b'diavad. But lechatchila, you don't want to get that piece, so therefore ein l'shanot haminhag. So those who are machmer should stay machmer. But then the Ramah concludes, Aval sha'ar dvarim she'enam charifin, but fruits, vegetables that are not charif, they go on tapuchim. You're buying cut apples, right? You want to order a platter of cut fruit, cut apples from the store, liftot yeveshim, or just some kind of dry vegetables. Uchadome nohagim behem heter. It's 100% mutter. Kamo belimonish ve'en lachmir klal. And one should not be more machmer than this. So it comes out according to the Ramah. The minhag is, if you want to buy cut fruits and vegetables from the store, so if it's a davar charif, again, it depends on the minhag. Mikar din we saw in the Shulchan Aruch, it's mutter. But the minhag could be that it's aser. And so therefore, if the minhag is that it's aser, then don't do it. Except everyone agrees when it comes to lemons, everyone's meko. That's a clear minhag that the Ramah points out. Even if you're machmer, when it comes to lemons, I mean, it really depends on your minhag, but the Rama writes there's no minhag to be machmer for lemons. Number one, because he knows that everybody, there's no minhag to be machmer for minhag. The minhag is to be make like the Shulchan Aruch when it comes to lemons. I'll just add even also because lemons, it's not 100% considered charif according to everybody, but we know the Shulchan Aruch does consider lemons a davar charif, except in this case when it's bekamut, the quantity is different, and okay, and then if it's not davar charif, like a regular most fruits and vegetables, a fruit platter, then that would be mutter lechatchila, according to everybody, even according to the minhag. Okay, let's go to hey. Hatach kishuim b'sakin shel basar. Now, what happens if you're going to cut a knife? We use a knife to cut cucumbers that are. It's just a stam knife, so we're talking about a knife that's not clean. Hatach kishuim b'sakin shel basar. It's a piece of meat. It's a fleshik knife that you use for meat. We're assuming the stam case, according to the Shulchan Aruch that he's presenting, is there is some meat shamnunit on that knife. It wasn't checked or cleaned. Motor la'ochlam b'chalav b'greda bilvad. All you have to do, right? It's not a davar charif. So all you have to do is just scrape off the very end or sand off. Basically, the poskim say like this: klipa has to be one solid slice, one solid piece. So again, just for understanding purposes, don't take me literal, but let's say a klipa needs to be a millimeter thick. Probably less is fine also. When it comes to greda, I would say probably a 0.1 millimeter would be enough. Whatever it is, just so you understand, just something has to come off, but 0.2, but it doesn't have to be in one solid piece. Okay, so let's go on. Okay, you have to scrape off that area or cut it off super thin. And if you're going to use that knife, you cut a piece of meat with it, and then you cut a lefet with it. I'm not exactly sure what it's referring to. I don't know, turnip or what, I don't know. And l'maisa halacha, we don't know. So afilu greda eino tzarich. If in between every time you cut a piece of meat, before you go to your onion or your radish, you first chop it with a lefet, then that's fine. And then you don't need to even do that because the lefet it's hard and it has a certain taste that'll like pogame or ruin or weaken that the charif aspect. Okay. So if you had a lefet, if you knew what it was, then you just rinse it off instead. You don't even have to scrape off the end. Now, this halacha.
If you cut the lefet, then you don't feel greater on the kishuin.
Yeah, when you cut the cucumber.
What about
the lefet, then for that, I believe you would have to take off greda, scrape. Yeah, that would make sense. Okay, and right, and our case is kishuim, which is something that's a little bit soft and moist. So that's why you can't just rinse it off. If it would be a hard substance, then you can just wash it off. In this case, but this case is if you try and rub it and wash it off, they say it'll go even deeper because the inside of a cucumber is moist and squishy. So if you cut a piece of meat, then you can go to lefet, and then you can go to tznon, and it's fine. You just rinse it off. Kamo halefet, lefi shetam halefet meshuna umevatel ta'am haniflat me'asakin. Oh, so I'm stand corrected there. But even the lefet itself, okay, is fine. But you don't have to do anything with the lefet because it has its own flavor that I don't know. It wards off the charifas or changes the charifas, the flavor itself.
Not the flavors, the balsam.
Right. The ta'am of the basar. There you go. That's right. Okay, but I don't think this has any halachic relevance to us. Haga, v'dafka lefet sheta'amo meshuna of, but that has to be a lefet that has a very strange taste. Aval yerek or lechem or shardvarim lo. But any of the vegetables and bread that we're familiar with, this halacha doesn't apply. V'afilu b'lefet ein lahatir lach tznon rak pa'am achas. And the Ramah says, even if you're going to be makel with this lefet, then that only works once. In other words, you can't keep on using that same avalo. Here I'll read avalo harbe pe'amim. Im lo chatach kol pam lefet bein chatichat tznon letznon. You have a fleshik knife. Every time you want to cut a radish, every slice, every sliver, you got to first cut it, stab it, whatever, cut it into the lefet first, and then go to the radish. Because the lefet, I guess, has some kind of a residue that stays on the knife, but that residue that prevents the harifus, or whatever, the absorption, only works once. So every time you want to slice it into a radish, you got to first slice it into a lefet. So really, and for another reason, it's not a very practical halacha. Okay, let's start at Sadi Zayin. Shelo lalush isa bechalav. So I'm sure we're all familiar. There's a halacha. You're not allowed to mix if you're going to make a regular bread, regular challah, sourdough, any kind of regular bread you want to bake. You're not allowed to add milk into that dough before you bake it. So let's see. Aleph, ein lashin isa b'chalav. We're not allowed to knead dough with milk. Right? You want to add, instead of just using flour and water, some people want to put orange juice, some want to put milk. So the milk is not allowed. We're going to see when it is. Shema yavo lochla basar, because you're going to end up baking this milchik bread, and it's going to look like a regular piece of bread, toast, whatever, and someone's going to eat it with meat, because they won't know. And it's normal to eat bread with meat. And you're making pitas. You want to mix in some milk. People eat that with meat. V'im lash kol hapat, V'im lash kol hapat aser. And if you knead it in, then that's it. It becomes a davar iser. The entire bread becomes aser, and you can't do anything about it anymore. Afilu, once it's baked and it's made, after the fact, the poskim say you can't do something to it afterwards. Okay. Even if you just want to eat the bread by itself, it's still aser. It becomes like a davar iser midarabanan. It's a gzeira. Shami yachalenu im basar. V'im hayad davar mu'at kedei la'ochla bevat achat. But let's say you only baked one little roll in your house. Every kitchen, you made a little bit of dough, and you want to have it right now for breakfast or tonight, whatever it is. You made it for yourself. It's one roll. That's mutter. We're going to see how far you take it. The pshat of the Shulchan Aruch, and that's the Kaf HaChaim says lahalacha for Sfardim, is it's only basically one roll, or the amount for you to eat with your family at one meal.
Not bite size?
No. It could be a loaf of bread. You have a few kids, I don't know, whatever it is, enough for a suda. That's fine. Oh, sheshinat surat hapat. Before you baked it, you did something to the dough. In Israel, they take barekas and they put them into triangles. I don't know where else, but you do something with the dough that makes it look, I don't know, you can make a picture of a cow, stamp a cow on there. I don't know what it is. Or take little pieces of dough on the top. Do something that makes it look odd and different, that's going to make you remember and other people ask, what's going on over here? It has to be, though, that enough of a siman that a person's not going to eat it with meat. What? Yeah. Or maybe a picture of a cow, or a piece of something, a typical picture of what you consider cheese. You put that on the top. Yeah, or you put a stamp in there, in the dough before it's baked. That can also work. You also cannot seal your oven with meat fat, right? And right, usually we don't put in meat into our dough. It's normal to mix in milk, but the France they mix the meat with it. Okay, lard, right? So that's his case. If you can't, just like the halacha is by milchiks, this exact same gzera applies to lard, meat fat, and even if it's kosher, obviously. And that's what he's saying over here. You can't seal your oven with fleishiks, and then it's all sealed and everything is baking together. It's as if it was put inside. Okay, Haga, v'lachein. Lachein nohagim lalush pat im chalav b'chag haShavuot gam b'shuman lichvot Shabbos. Wait, yeah, ki kol ze mechashev kedavar muat. Okay, so then he says, I don't know if it's two separate examples, I think, but anyways, excuse my reading. On Shavuos, you can mix in milk. Therefore, there's a minhag to have milchik bread on Shavuos, or even on Shabbos to make fleishik bread, because according to the Rama, a davar muat means an entire day. You can also make enough. Let's say, I don't know, it could be 4, 5, 6 rolls, loaves, challah, whatever it is. It could be last you have a family, it can last you the entire holiday. You have guests coming, I don't know. Depends how far you take it. But he says that's also allowed, and that's the minhag. He calls it machashev kadavar muat. This is considered davar muat. Gam kitzuratan meshuna sharpat. And also, if he says also because they're different, but they look different. The shape is different. That's another heter. But either way, both allow you to do it for the holidays. Kol shekain pladan or pashtida the mutarin. Pladan, I think, is because it's a davar muat. Pashtida, again, I'm not sure his exact reasoning. Yeah, but we're going to see that again. Pashtida is it looks like it could be a meat or a calzone, barekas, where it's normal. The mutarin, it's mutar. The ein le'afot shum pat im pladin or pashtida betanur. That's the next case. I'm going to say more. Give me 1 second here. The Maharit has a chumrah. It's brought down in the Pischei Tshuva. Again, there's different opinions on this. He writes, it doesn't help to make a shinui in it unless it's in your own house, because only you're going to know what the shinui is, unless it's a type of a shinui that other people are going to know. So to do it to sell for the masses or in a bakery, making a private shinoi is not going to help unless, of course, the whole tzibur knows about it. Probably everyone agrees. I'm trying to think where I saw, but many poskim I do know say, or when it comes to pastries, it's not a problem. Any pastries that, again, really depends on the pastry. I know if you're going to when you go to the bakery and you buy the regular chocolate rogalach, people assume it's parov. So any pastry that's normal for people to know that it's milchik, then there's no problem. I'll just leave it as a tzarachi. And what happens if, let's say, for example, the French know their pastry is milchik, but nobody else in the city that they moved to knows that it's milchik? We'll leave that as a tzarachi on how far do we go. Eventually, everybody will eventually learn, but maybe not the first time. Okay. Something else. Right, we mentioned... Right, so, but it depends. If it's tricky, if it's going to trick you, it's a problem. If everyone's supposed to know to ask, or that they know what it means, then that's when it's not okay. That's when it becomes okay. Okay, yeah. The Pischei Teshuvos is where it talks about some of the stuff we mentioned, that it has to be done before it's baked. And fine. Okay, Pasha. Let's go on. Let's continue the Ramah. Where does it continue with? Ve'ein le'efot shum pat im pladin o pashida betanur dechashinan shama yazuv min shuman el hapat. He's just saying, don't bake them together. You want to make sure you bake milk parav alone and milchik with milchik and fleshik with fleshik, because we're afraid that it'll drip on. Again, if there's issues of zeya, reicha, other issues, like the case of we just had the fat to seal the oven is more of an issue of zeya, of steam. That's when it becomes a big problem. Here he's saying, even if those are not the issues, don't do it because it can drip on from one to another. And so if it drips onto it and touches it, of course it's the same thing as if it's mixed in, and then it could become usr because now it's a dairy challah. Again, it depends on the quantity. Maybe you made only one, and then we can assume it's okay. L'sum atfela b'fia tanur. Oh boy. Okay, he's just saying the minhag is not. That just means to put one item next to another item. This is my understanding. To put it by the entrance of the oven. You know, those ovens used to have side entrances. They used to be open. So anyways, as long as you put them by the entrance and it's on the side, and you're not worried about it dripping from one to another, and there's no zeya going on, it's not sealed, so then that's when it's okay. But it's better to be machmer for that also, lechatchila. What are they? Bread and milk. I don't know, you're making a private pizza next to a part of pizza challah. So he says, if you're putting it far away, laterally, and nothing's going to drip, and it's all open, and there's no zeya, it's no problem, mikar adin, for real, there's nothing to worry about, but better to be machmer. Yeah. This case, well, or vice versa. Okay, let's go on. Can't be vice versa? Oh, okay. We'll stop today. We'll finish this tomorrow, and maybe we'll start Parovis tomorrow.